Hello, 7th grade. This is lesson 74. Our objective is how do you find a part of a whole number? And if you recall, we've kind of done this already before. This is kind of part 2. So remember, before what we talked about is we had a whole bunch of problems just kind of like this one. It says, what is 1/4 of 20? And we remembered that the word is translates into the equal sign. 1/4, we just wrote it as a fraction like that, of translates into multiplication, and then 20 is 20. And whenever it says what is, I use a variable x. You could use the first letter of your name, like L or Q or whatever, there for that variable. So that's just the number we're looking for. So we have this, I just kind of squished it together there. You multiply 1/4 by 20, and we got 5 to be our answer, because we multiplied 1 times 20 and got 20. 4 times 1 got us 4. And then 20 divided by 4 got us 5. Okay? So really the main thing you need to remember from that lesson is that the word is translates into an equal sign, and the word of means multiplication. So let's get started with a few of these. And this is example 1 from your book. It says, what fraction of 56 is 42? So first of all, we're going to say what fraction. I'm just going to translate it to the letter H for my middle name. Of translates, remember, into multiplication. 56, well, is just 56. Is translates into an equal sign, and then we have 42. It's a really horrible arrow, but you'll live. So I'm going to say H times 56 is equal to 42. Well, I want that H by itself. Right now, they are multiplying with each other. So the opposite of multiplying is going to be to divide. So I'm going to divide by 56. What I do to one side of the equation, I must also do to the other. So this 56 and that 56 reduce down to 1, leaving my left-hand side with just an H. My right-hand side comes out to be 42 over 56. Well, I'm thinking maybe those will reduce. So maybe you can think of a bigger number, but the first thing I think of is 2. If I divided both of those by 2, the top one would be 21. The bottom one would be 25, 26, 27, 28. And now I recognize those as both having a factor of 7. The top one, if I divide the top one by 7, I'd get 3. If I divide the bottom one by 7, I'd have 4. So the answer here is 3/4. So 56 is 3/4 of 42. 42 is 3/4 of 56. Yeah. Now, another possible way that they could have asked that is if they said, what decimal part of 56 is 42? And we would have still worked this out the exact same way, just at the end, versus leaving it as a fraction like this, 3/4, we would have changed it into a decimal, because it asks for a decimal part versus a fraction. So we just would have said it's 0.75. Okay, this is practice set A. So what fraction of 130 is 80? So something very similar here. I'll use a cool letter like A. This means multiply. 130. This translates to the equal sign and 80. So I have A and 130 that are multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying is to divide. I'm going to divide by 130 because these two then will reduce to 1. And I'm trying to get that A all by itself. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So on the left-hand side, I just have A times 1, or A. On the right-hand side, I have 80 divided by 130. I realize that 10 is a factor of both of those. If I divide the top and the bottom by 10, I will end up with 8 over 13. 13 is a prime number, so there's not going to be any factors that would reduce with that 8. So my answer is going to be 8 over 13. Again, if it had asked for like a decimal part, I just would have converted that 8 over 13 into a decimal, maybe using a calculator or something like that. Alright, this is like example 2. It says 3/4 of what number is 60? So now we're looking for a number, which I guess we're looking for a number before, but looking for a different part here. So 3/4 is going to be 3 over 4. Of means multiply. What number? I will use a letter. And then is equal sign and 60. Okay, so I'm just going to write this as 3/4 k, right? That means multiplying, is equal to 60. Now, a little trick when we're multiplying by a fraction, if we want to get rid of that fraction, we can multiply by its reciprocal. Now, thought bubble here, remember reciprocal of 3/4 just means flip it over, so that'd be 4/3. Reciprocal of 7/8 would be 8/7. Okay, just flip that fraction over. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side by 4/3. And again, when I do the one side, I must do the other. 4/3. Now, notice here, this 3 and that 3, or I guess if you multiply this, you end up with 12 over 12. So this whole thing just becomes 1. So it's like these two reduced to 1, and those two reduced to 1. So 1 times k simply just gives me a k. On the right-hand side, if it helps, you can think of this as 60 over 1. So this whole thing, 60 times 4, is 240. 1 times 3 is 3. And then I'll need to reduce that. I can divide both of them by 3. The other option would be to reduce first. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 60. 3 goes into 6 two times, so it would go into that 20 times. Okay, so then 20 times 4. 20 times 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. This would be 80 over 1. Or we could just, 80 divided by 1 is just 80. So k is equal to 80. So notice then, 60 is 3/4 of 80. 60 is 3/4 of 80, because we're asking for what number there. Okay, 60 is 5/6 of what number? 60 is 5/6 of what number? So I'm going to say 60 is 5/6 of some number like s. So again, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is going to be 6 over 5. And I'll just call this like 60 over 1. So my right-hand side just becomes s, because those reduce and those reduce to 1s. Leaving me just with s. I can reduce here. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 60. Goes into 10 two times. So there's 6 10, so we go into that 12 times. So I just multiply 6 times 12. So 72 over 1 times 1, which is just 1. Or I could say s is equal to 72. So 60 is 5/6 of 72. 60 is 5/6 of 72. Alright, if you haven't noticed already, your homework is going to be a worksheet. So make sure you finish that up, get that from the teacher, and it'll be due tomorrow, right before we take our quiz. So good luck. Feel free to watch this again if you need to gain more instruction, or you could read your book. That's a good option too. Good luck. We'll see you later.